Heartwarming, pregnant wife's amazing journey exposed after Millionaire'S 48-hour demand revealed. In the little town of Elmswood, Sarah felt the weight of the world on her shoulders. At 28, she was pregnant, waiting tables at the local diner, and juggling the needs of her aging parents while supporting Tom, her devoted husband who worked long hours as a mechanic. Dreaming of culinary school, her heart swelled with aspirations of being a chef, a life filled with flavors and creativity. Yet, the reality of her day-to-day life often felt like a crushing wave. It was a typical Saturday morning when Richard moved in next door. Flashy cars and an extravagant lifestyle made him the talk of the town. Gossip flowed like coffee at the diner, and curiosity quickly turned into a firestorm when he approached Sarah with his outlandish proposal. "I'll fund your culinary education," he said smoothly, "if you give up your baby for adoption." The words sliced through her like a knife, leaving her breathless. Friends began to murmur about her. They urged her to take the offer, to seize a golden chance for a better life. But inside, Sarah could feel the battle brew. This was her child, her flesh and blood. The notion of adoption curled her stomach in knots. As she felt the sunlight streaming in through the diner's window, the warmth turned cold, and the whispers became a torrent of doubt. Would she be a good mother? Could she ever forgive herself if she walked that path? The weight of expectation bore down on her as Tom sensed her turmoil. They had always been a team, cherishing the values of family and loyalty. But now, cracks were forming in their paradise. Sarah found herself drawn to the tantalizing idea of what could be a chef, an independent woman, successful and vibrant. With each passing hour, Richard's offer loomed larger, threatening to drown out the love and support she felt from Tom and their community. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The diner buzzed with gossip one evening as Sarah overheard a group of customers dissecting her life like it was some reality show. Their judgments felt like jagged pieces of glass cutting into her heart. She wanted to yell, to tell them she wasn't just a woman making a choice, she was a mother trying to navigate a storm. When she confronted Richard to stand her ground, her voice wavered but remained fierce. "I'm not a pawn in your game," she said defiantly, tearing up as she faced the reality of what she cherished most. The room spun in her mind, feeling more chaotic as her heart raced. Could ambition really tear apart the family she had worked so hard to protect? As she stormed out, the air crackled with tension. Sarah felt Tom's unwavering support, yet doubt nosedived back in. It was a moment of silence that spoke volumes. The stakes had never been higher, and the choices never more haunting. Would she embrace the American dream of ambition, or cling to the incredibly precious dream of motherhood? With Richard's ultimatum looming, the question hung heavily in the air: which path would she choose, and what price would she pay? It was late Sunday morning when Sarah finally found some solitude. The diner had gone quiet, the last of the breakfast rush waning. She tucked herself into a corner booth, nursing a cup of lukewarm coffee, the steam curling like her thoughts around her brain. Outside, the sun shone bright, but inside, a storm brewed just beneath the surface of her heart. Tom always knew how to read her like an open book, but today was different. The unease radiating from her felt foreign, even to him. He was working a shift at the garage, leaving her to ponder the weight of her future alone. Was she brave enough to truly confront her dreams and desires? Or was she simply hiding from the fear of what life might be like as a mother? Every time she glimpsed her reflection in the window, she saw a woman at a crossroads, each path leading to such different futures. The thought of Richard's proposition nagged at her. What would it mean to be free from financial worry? She could almost visualize herself, a chef in a bustling kitchen, smiling patrons devouring her culinary masterpieces, cheers of praise ringing in her ears. It was intoxicating. But was it worth the price of her child? "Hey, Sarah. You doing okay?" A familiar voice broke through her spiral. It was Lily, her best friend since childhood. With a gentle air, she slid into the booth across from her. Sarah smiled faintly, grateful for the interruption, but didn't answer right away. Lily reached across the table, squeezing her hand. "I heard through the grapevine about Richard," Lily said softly. The flood of shame washed over Sarah. "But it's not what you think." She leaped to defend. "I could never. I know you, Sarah. You're loyal to the bone. But I've also seen how you light up when you talk about cooking. This could be a ticket for you. Just think about it. Just think about it, okay?" Tears sprang to Sarah's eyes. She didn't want to talk about it. She wanted to scream, to laugh, and to cry all at once. This wasn't just some decision about her future, it was about the little life growing inside her, the future they dreamed of together as a family. "What if I'm not enough, Lily? What if I mess everything up?" Lily shook her head. "You're already so much more than you give yourself credit for. No one is perfect." Her words echoed in Sarah's heart like comforting music. She knew Lily's mind was filled with optimism, but the shadows around Sarah's spirit felt thick and heavy. The burden of expectation and judgment was more overwhelming than any dream she'd conjured. As they sat there, the diner slowly filled up again, laughter and chatter creating a cocoon of normalcy. But Sarah felt like she was in a bubble, half listening, half drowning. Then she remembered something her mom had said to her once: "Honey, the hardest choices often lead to the sweetest results." In that moment of clarity, Sarah realized she had to decide what truly mattered to her. Not just for her, but for the child she was carrying. As her mind raced through the implications, another thought slipped in, one that both scared and excited her. What if she could find a way to combine her dreams with her responsibilities? With renewed determination, she looked at Lily and said, "I need to talk to Tom about all this. I need to find out what he really thinks." Would Tom be supportive of her pursuits, or would her ambition set them on a path of uncertainty? The stakes felt impossibly high as she stood up, feeling an unfamiliar fire ignite within. As she left the diner, the world outside felt vibrant and alive. Each step carried the weight of decision, but also a flicker of hope. And as she made her way home, one question lingered in the back of her mind: would her dreams and motherhood coexist, or was she destined to sacrifice one for the other? With the air thick with anticipation, Sarah felt she was finally ready to face the truth. The front door creaked as Sarah entered their small apartment. It was filled with the familiar scent of Tom's cooking, a mix of spices and something sweet. For a moment, it felt like home, warm and inviting, but the reality of the conversation ahead weighed heavily on her mind. A battle of dreams and responsibilities loomed like storm clouds over her heart. "Hey, babe," Tom called from the kitchen. She could hear the clattering of pots and pans, a comforting sound, a rhythm she loved. She took a deep breath and entered the kitchen, where Tom stood, apron tied around his waist, his hair slightly tousled. When he turned at the sound of her footsteps, his smile lit up the room. "Have you eaten?" "I'm just about done with this new stir-fry I've been working on," he said, grinning. "Actually, I could use a little bite," she replied, forcing a smile. As she took a seat at the small table, she admired how focused he was, so immersed in his culinary efforts. But that glimpse of domestic bliss clashed with the whirlwind of thoughts spinning in her head. After they exchanged a few light-hearted remarks about the food, Sarah felt her heart racing. It was now or never. She gathered all her courage and said, "Tom, can we talk? There is something important I need to discuss with you." He turned off the stove and wiped his hands on the towel, looking at her with concern. Sure. What's on your mind? The moment was fragile, and she hated how her voice trembled. It's about my cooking, my dreams. She paused, searching for the right words. I've been thinking about Richard's offer. Tom's brow furrowed slightly, and she felt a sharp stab of fear. She continued, I know it's a lot to unpack, but I think I could actually pursue my culinary dreams. I don't want to give up on that part of myself, Tom. He leaned against the counter, not saying a word at first. She could see the wheels turning in his head, the mix of concern and contemplation churning behind his deep blue eyes. Richard the millionaire? He asked slowly, his tone gauging the situation. Yes. He wants me to be part of his restaurant project. It could be amazing, but I don't want to lose you or our baby in the process. Tom rubbed the back of his neck, and the gesture only deepened the knot in her stomach. I just want to make sure that whatever you decide, you are happy, Sarah. But is this really what you want? Yes. She exclaimed, her heart racing. I can't imagine living without trying. But it feels so risky. What if I fail? What if it all falls apart? You're not failing by exploring yourself, Tom replied gently. It's about balancing what you want with what we need together. His words wrapped around her like a warm embrace, yet they also exposed her fears. What if their lives changed too quickly? What if the decisions they made now led them down paths they couldn't walk back from? I just have this vision, Tom. I want to create something beautiful, but I also want to be a good mom. I'm scared of letting either one down. Tom stepped closer, taking her hands in his. We'll find a way. We always do. Determination and trepidation danced within her. It was his unwavering faith that bolstered her resolve. But the weight of her dreams felt heavier than ever. What if balancing it all is impossible? A beat of silence hung between them, echoing her doubts. But Tom finally offered a soft smile, his eyes filled with encouragement. We won't know until we try. How about we create a plan together? We can make it work out. She squeezed his hands, feeling a rush of gratitude. I'd love that. But as they plotted their future, Sarah couldn't shake the unease settling in her stomach. What would it be like to walk that path? Would they really find the balance they so desperately craved? With questions swirling around her mind, uncertainty lurked like a shadow at the edge of her thoughts. As they continued their conversation, Sarah's heart pounded with hope, fear, and everything in between. She knew she stood on a precipice, ready to leap. But would she really soar, or would she fall? As she pondered their next steps, a chilling realization crossed her mind, following her dreams may require sacrifices she hadn't yet considered. The stir-fry simmered softly on the stove, and the warmth of the kitchen enveloped Sarah like a comforting blanket. But the atmosphere felt charged with uncertainty, each second stretching as she wrestled with her thoughts. Tom, sensing her tension, busied himself with setting the table, the clinking of plates mingling with the simmering sounds of the food. Do you want to discuss the timeline? He asked, glancing over his shoulder. His casual tone belied the seriousness of the topic looming above them like an uninvited guest. Sarah nodded, her heart thudding as she thought of the faint ticking clock in the background, time moving steadily, inching closer to decisions that could steer their lives on completely different paths. I think we should outline some goals, maybe how I could start working with Richard while still being here for you, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Tom turned to face her fully, his expression one of quiet determination. That sounds like a good idea. We can prioritize, he said, pausing as he picked up a fork, contemplating his next words. But I need you to promise me something first. Anything, she replied, trying to infuse hope into her voice despite the trepidation looming within. Promise me we won't let this become a chore or a fight, he said, his earnest gaze holding hers. Our family is what is most important, Sarah. If this project threatens that, we pull back. No dreams are worth losing each other. His words wrapped around her heart like a lifeline, but the weight of her own aspirations pressed heavily on her chest. I know. I just feel like if I don't seize this moment, I might regret it forever. Tom stepped closer, closing the space between them. And if you take this chance and it becomes too much, we'll adjust. We'll shift things around to protect our family. We'll figure it out together. She could see the love in his eyes, but doubt still flickered like a candle struggling to stay lit. But what if that adjustment hurts our baby? Or pulls me too far away from you? He placed his hands on her shoulders, grounding her with his presence. You're not going anywhere, Sarah. You're building something of your own, but we're in this together. I'll always be right here, cheering you on. Tears pricked the corners of her eyes, and she blinked them back, realizing just how much she needed this affirmation. I'm scared, she admitted, her voice trembling. Scared is okay, he replied. I'm scared too. But when you look at our little one, think of the strength you're giving them. Show them they can chase their dreams. A small smile broke through her fear as she envisioned their child, imbued with a fire to create and innovate just like she did. Suddenly, the idea of sacrifice didn't feel as daunting, knowing it was tied to something greater. As the conversation danced between their aspirations and apprehensions, a plan began to take shape, each small decision weaving itself into a tapestry of potential dreams. Then, just as they reached a tentative agreement on how to move forward, the ring of her phone startled them both. It was Richard. Sarah's heart raced as she glanced at the screen. Was this the moment that would change everything? Did she really want to pick up that call, knowing it could steer their lives further into the unknown? Taking a deep breath, she pressed the answer button, her pulse quickening with every second. Hello, Richard, she said, her voice steady despite the wild thoughts storming inside her head. Sarah. I need to talk to you about some important details regarding the project. Can you come by tomorrow? Her stomach twisted. The weight of decisions loomed larger now than ever. What was Richard going to say? Did she have it in her to take that leap, or would she fall? The question hung in the air, heavy with the possibility of what was to come. The next day, Sarah found herself pacing the living room, her hands anxiously twisted together. The sun filtered softly through the curtains, casting warm golden patterns on the floor, but the light did little to ease the knot in her stomach. Tom had left for work, leaving her alone with her thoughts and the looming meeting with Richard. She glanced at her phone, the screen lighting up with a text from him. Looking forward to seeing you. Let us make this happen. Her heart fluttered. Was that excitement or dread? She took a deep breath, willing herself to focus. This was her chance. As she gathered her things, she caught sight of the baby's clothes neatly folded in the corner. Tiny onesies, soft and snug, a symbol of the new life they were about to welcome. A wave of warmth washed over her, mixed with a twinge of uncertainty. She thought about how they had dreamed of this moment, how they had settled into becoming a family together. But was she ready to step away from that for this new opportunity? The drive to Richard's office felt surreal. The streets buzzed with energy, people bustling with their daily routines while she felt suspended in time. The project was a doorway to a world she hadn't dared to explore fully. As she parked, the weight of the moment settled heavy on her chest. Entering the building, she felt a mixture of nerves and exhilaration. The decor, modern and sophisticated, only added to her rising anxiety. Was she out of her depth? Sarah. Richard greeted her with a warm smile that spread across his face. He stood behind a sleek, glass desk, exuding an air of confidence. I'm glad you could make it. Thanks for having me, she replied, forcing her voice to remain steady. "Let's dive in," he said, gesturing for her to sit. As they settled in, he pulled out a detailed proposal. "This project could change everything for you. I really see potential not just for the company, but for your growth." She listened, her mind dancing between excitement and fear, every word he uttered painting vivid images of success. He talked about collaborations, big names in the industry, and phrases like national outreach and visionary impact rolled off his tongue like magic. But as he laid out the numbers, potential profits, timelines, demands, her heart raced in a different direction. Each number felt like a thread unraveling from her carefully woven family tapestry. The more Richard spoke, the more she felt the tug of her commitment to Tom and their child. "Sarah, the only thing standing in your way is you," Richard said, his eyes earnest. "You're talented, and this is the moment to embrace that. Just imagine what you could achieve. I appreciate your belief in me," but her voice faltered as uncertainty chased away the excitement. "What about my family? My responsibilities at home?" Richard leaned forward, his expression shifting slightly. "Life is about risks. If you want to truly thrive, you have to be willing to take them. Don't let fear hold you back." His words stung, awakening a restless fire inside her. Was she really so afraid she'd let this opportunity slip? But then the thought of walking away from her family, from Tom's unwavering support, echoed painfully in her mind. It felt like betrayal. As they wrapped up the meeting, she felt more filled with confusion than clarity. Richard stood, a spark in his eyes. "Let's meet again soon. I'll give you time to think it over," he said, but the urgency in his tone reminded her that decisions had to be made soon. Driving home, the world seemed to spin faster. She could almost hear the ticking clock again, a reminder that the choices she faced weren't just about her career, but her entire family future. When she entered the house, the familiar smell surrounded her, but it felt different, like a barrier had shifted. She found her eyes drawn to the empty nursery, and her heart sank. What kind of mother would she be if she chased this dream away from her family? Yet, what kind of example would she set if she didn't follow her passion? As she stood overwhelmed, Tom's voice floated in her mind, filled with love and support, but also a dawning worry. The weight of her decision loomed larger than ever. Would her leap for something new carry her away from what mattered most, or might it be the bridge to a richer life? Sarah closed her eyes, hoping clarity would come, but in that moment, all she felt was a sweet ache, and everything remained uncertain. What would the next step reveal? Standing on the threshold of her home, Sarah felt the familiar warmth of her space engulf her, but it was betrayed by the cold churn of anxiety in her chest. She took a breath, trying to ground herself, but the walls seemed to echo her inner tumult, the pressure building with every heartbeat, blurring the lines between ambition and family. She drifted into the living room, her gaze landing on the expertly decorated nursery. Sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating the little details: the mobile swaying gently above the crib, the rows of books stacked neatly on a shelf. It had all felt so perfect, a manifestation of their dreams. Yet now, it seemed both a comfort and a constraint. A mixture of regret and hope wrestled within her. Would choosing to pursue her career aspirations mean that she was unworthy of being a good mother? She rummaged through her restless thoughts, unable to find solace. As she sat on the couch, her mind spiraled into flashes of what could be late nights at the office, client meetings that stretched into dawn, all while moments at home slipped away like sand through her fingers. Then she thought about Tom. His unwavering support meant everything to her. He had been the rock through it all, each moment shared, every dream built together. But would he understand her need to explore this new path? Would he see it as a betrayal or a leap of faith? The thought twisted inside her, and she grabbed her phone. Right there on the couch, longing for his presence, she typed out a message. "Can we talk when you get home? I need to discuss something important." With a gulp, She sent it and felt the weight of her decision settle deeper. Time stretched painfully as she waited for Tom to return. She tried to distract herself by flipping through channels, but nothing caught her attention. Each tick of the clock on the wall felt like a reminder of the indecision that gripped her. When the door finally opened, Tom stepped inside, a smile breaking over his face as he caught sight of her. "Hey, hon. Everything okay?" His voice was soft, filled with genuine concern. "Yeah, just tired," she replied, forcing the corners of her mouth to curve upward. His brow furrowed slightly, and he slowly moved closer, his head tilting in that way she adored. "You don't look well, Sarah. What is on your mind?" With a deep breath, she pulled him down beside her. "There is something I need to tell you." A storm of emotions brewed within her, each one roaring for release. He held her hand tight, the warmth radiating through her. "You know you can tell me anything," he said softly, squeezing her fingers reassuringly. But could she tell him everything? The dreams that had ignited a fire inside her since meeting Richard. The gnawing fear that it all might end in a mess. "I met with Richard today about a project and he believes I can really make something of it." She saw Tom's brows raise, and she quickly continued. "I'm not sure if I should accept. I mean, it could mean a lot for us. For our future, but it also feels like a lot to handle with the baby coming." Tom's silence stretched. She could almost see the wheels turning in his mind. "Have you thought about what you really want?" His voice was steady, anchoring her again. "I want to succeed, Tom. But I don't want to give up what we have." Her eyes watered, and she couldn't help it. All of it, the uncertainty, the excitement, the fear of failing as a mother came spilling out. "Sarah," he began, his voice low and deliberate, "you never have to give things up to follow your dream. We can find a way." But could they really? The question raced past her lips before she could filter it. What if it's too much for us? He studied her for a moment, and in that silence, a myriad of possibilities unfolded. There was love, and there was doubt, and in between, lay the path of their lives. She couldn't shake off the feeling that the real question was yet to be asked. As they sat together, the weight of their conversation enveloped them like a thick fog. How would they navigate these waters? What would it ultimately cost? And just as the sun dipped low outside, casting shadows in their living room, something stirred deep within Sarah. Would this new venture be her chance to soar, or would it leave everything she cherished behind? In that moment of darkness, a spark of determination ignited. But before she could voice it, an unexpected question floated between them, hanging in the air, heavy with potential. "Are you prepared for what this journey could mean for us?" Tom asked, his eyes searching hers, a tone of seriousness cutting through the atmosphere. In that second, Sarah realized the true path of her dilemma was about to reveal itself. Could she dare to dream while being anchored to her family? The tension stretched like a tightrope between them. Sarah's heart raced as Tom's words echoed in her mind. What this journey could mean for us. It was a heavy weight, one that teetered on the edge of her hopes and fears. Prepared? I don't know, she stumbled over her thoughts. What if I take this leap and we end up drifting apart? What if I can't be there for you or the baby? Her voice quivered, thick with uncertainty, threatening to crack under emotional strain. Tom shifted closer, his gaze steady and full of love. You won't know unless you try, Sarah. You have every right to dream. It doesn't mean leaving us behind. His sincerity wrapped around her like a warm blanket. I just don't want to be that cliché, she whispered. A woman who chases her career at the cost of her family. Sarah, he said, lifting her chin gently. This isn't a zero-sum game. You are not a cliché. You're my wife, and we're about to be parents. We can do this together. I believe in you. His words stirred something deep inside her, something fiery and intoxicating. But doubt still curled itself around her thoughts. She thought of nights without Tom, of missed milestones, the little things that mattered most. Have you thought about the baby? She tried to search his face for anything that resembled hesitation. What if I'm not around? What if something goes wrong? We'll manage, he said firmly. We will communicate, prioritize together, and make sure we support each other. It's all about balance. His conviction pulled her in, like a tide she didn't want to resist. She nodded slowly, still feeling the pull of anxiety. But what if it's too much too soon? Tom's voice softened. Sometimes the hardest paths lead to the most beautiful destinations. And the truth is nothing is set in stone. You can always adjust, adapt. That's the strength of our family. As he spoke, Sarah contemplated everything she had wanted for herself. The concept of balance felt elusive, a delicate dance between ambition and motherhood. How could it all fit? Tom reached over and took her hand in both of his. Your dreams are important not only to you but to us. Our child deserves a mother who is fulfilled. His words were a soothing balm on a wound she hadn't realized was there. The thought of being the best version of herself, both as a mother and a professional, ignited a flicker of hope within her. Could she truly embrace both identities without sacrificing one for the other? With her heart pounding, she took a deep breath. You really believe I can do this? More than anything. But you have to believe it too. His unwavering faith was contagious, igniting sparks of determination in her. Yet the fear still whispered at the back of her mind, a nagging thought. What if the balance didn't happen? What if her ambition overshadowed her family? Tom must have sensed the shift in her. Let us start with a plan. Just take it one step at a time. We can figure out both our fears together. Step by step. The idea settled over her like a comforting embrace. But still, she felt one crucial piece was left unsaid. What if achieving my dreams changes me? What if I don't recognize myself anymore? We won't lose who we are. We'll grow together, he reassured, but she could see the question flickering in his eyes too. What if it changed him? The uncertainty weighed between them. They both knew new paths could bring unexpected shifts, and the truth loomed large, waiting to be uncovered. As twilight draped its gentle shawl over their home, Sarah felt the pull of courage nudging her closer to the edge of her worries. Could she embrace this journey, both the thrilling and the terrifying aspects of it? Before she could answer, the buzz of her phone interrupted them, a notification that demanded attention, bringing with it a wave of anticipation and dread. What is it? Tom asked, tilting his head curiously. Taking the phone into her trembling hands, Sarah glanced at the screen. Richard had texted, and what he wrote held the weight of a potential turning point. Sarah, I need you to come in tomorrow. We have to finalize the plans. It's a go, everything is ready. Tom's eyes widened, the tension shifting. In that moment, uncertainty peeled back, revealing a horizon teeming with possibilities. But Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning, and as she eyed Tom, questions loomed larger than before. Could they really face whatever was to come, together? With her heart racing, she turned to Tom, the silent fear lingering in the air, unspoken but palpable. They were at a pivot, the unknown stretching out before them. What would tomorrow bring? The next morning dawned with an unusual brilliance, yet Sarah felt a weight pressing down on her shoulders. The sunlight streamed through the curtains, bathing the room in warmth, but the glow only highlighted the doubts that clung like shadows in her mind. She sat up slowly, wrapped in a cocoon of confusion. Today was the day. The day she would step into the office and face Richard, the man who had the power to change everything for her. Part of her felt exhilaration at the prospect of moving forward, but another part was trapped in the fear of the unknown. Would this opportunity prove to be a blessing or a curse? As she moved through her morning routine, even mundane tasks felt monumental. She could hear Tom stirring in the living room, the soft sound of him checking over the baby supplies they had been gathering. It was the perfect reminder of what was at stake, what she was fighting for. "Sarah, you almost ready?" Tom called out, his voice cutting through the fog enveloping her. "Just a minute," she replied, adjusting her reflection in the mirror. Today's outfit felt like a mask rather than a statement, but it was important to look the part when she faced Richard. Stepping into the living room, she saw Tom smiling, a smile that lit up the room. It filled her with warmth but also with a pang of guilt. Would he be able to understand the chaos swirling inside her? "Wow, you look great," he said, his eyes sparkling with encouragement. "Thanks," she managed, offering a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Are you feeling okay?" He softened his approach, stepping closer, his concern palpable. "You don't have to go if you're not ready." "I need to go, Tom," she replied resolutely, even as her heart fluttered. "I have to do this for me. For us." His brow furrowed slightly as he reached out to take her hand. "I believe in you. Just remember, this is your decision. Nothing is set in stone." In that moment, his faith enveloped her, anchoring her as she prepared to launch into the unknown. She took a deep breath, ready to face the day ahead, but still feeling the shadow of doubt lurking just out of sight. The drive to the office felt longer than usual, her thoughts racing through every possible scenario. What would Richard want from her? What would he expect in return? By the time she parked, her heart was pounding like a drum, urgency overshadowing the beauty of the day outside. Walking through the glass doors of the building, Sarah felt the familiar rush of adrenaline. The sleekness of the corporate environment met her with silent judgment, but she pushed through, reminding herself of Tom's words. This was her moment, a step toward reclaiming her ambitions. Richard's office was everything she expected: large windows showing a stunning view, a desk piled with influential documents, and a sense of power that radiated from every part of the space. He was seated with a confident demeanor, and as she stepped inside, she felt the atmosphere shift. "Sarah, come in." Richard's voice boomed, carrying a playful edge that made her skin tingle. Pushing aside her nerves, she took a seat. "You wanted to see me?" He smiled, a shark-esque smile that felt both inviting and eerie. "We have a lot to discuss, and I believe you're going to want to hear this." With that, the room felt charged, the air brittle with unspoken promises and hidden dangers. Sarah clenched her hands together, fighting the urge to retreat. What revelations lay ahead? Would she walk out feeling empowered or even more lost? As Richard leaned forward, Sarah's heart thundered in her chest, a premonition whispering that her life might never be the same again. Just then, the fateful words began to escape his lips, words that could change everything for her and her family. "Sarah, we are ready to go big with this project. But there's a catch." Her breath hitched, and suddenly, it felt as though the ground beneath her shifted. Would she be ready for whatever was about to unfold? The words hung in the air like a thick fog, pressing down on her, making it hard to breathe. Sarah's mind raced, 1,000 questions spinning as she tried to pull clarity from the fog of uncertainty. What's the catch? Panic coiled in her stomach. She had come here to seize an opportunity, not to trade one set of anxieties for another. Richard's expression was calculating, his fingers steepled against his chin. "I know you've been working hard at the company and that you've got potential, but I need someone who is willing to put everything on the line. Are you that person?" His gaze was intense, and she felt the weight of his scrutiny. Did he see the flicker of fear in her eyes? Did he know how fragile her confidence felt right now? "Everything on the line?" she echoed weakly, feeling her heart sink. "What do you mean?" He leaned back in his chair, the cool confidence in his demeanor unsettling. "We are launching a major initiative. It's risky, but if it succeeds well, let us just say it could skyrocket your career, give you the power you've always wanted. There are deadlines to meet and decisions to make fast." The thrill of that possibility flickered inside her, battling against the roots of dread tightening in her chest. A chance for more. And yet, what is the actual catch? She pressed, desperate to see the other side of the glittering opportunity. Richard's smile was slow, almost predatory. "I need you to take the lead. It won't be easy. You'll need to pick your team, fight for resources, and you might have to make some sacrifices." Her thoughts flickered to Tom and their future. Could she really take this leap? Could she justify pushing her husband for time when they were on the brink of welcoming a baby into the world? Sacrifices like? She asked, fear creeping into her voice. "When I say everything, I mean it. Be ready to put in the long hours, maybe even miss some family events. It's an all-or-nothing kind of deal." The gravity of his words settled in her stomach like a stone. She thought of Tom's unwavering support, the tender moments they shared, their dreams woven together. Would they become distant memories if she stepped down this path? "Are you ready to make that choice, Sarah?" Richard's question was heavy, each word loaded with expectation. She wanted to give an answer, a decisive, confident one. Instead, all she could muster was silence, pondering the crossroads before her. "Take your time. Think about it." He rested back, observing her closely, like a painter watching his subject, waiting for the right stroke. "I'll need an answer by the end of the week." Acquiescing family privileges, dancing with risk, all while nurturing the life growing inside her. The walls felt like they were closing in around her. Logically, this was an opportunity of a lifetime, but at what cost to her family? "Can I think about it?" She barely whispered, her heart racing with the weight of her dilemma. "Absolutely." Richard stood, almost lumbering to the door, his shadow eclipsing her momentary courage like a storm cloud. "But don't take too long. Chances like this don't wait for anyone." As he opened the door, the world outside flooded back into her senses, the chatter of coworkers, the buzz of the office. It felt like the same environment she once adored. But now, it was an echo of her life being pulled in two wildly different directions, everything she had and everything she could be. With each step back to her desk, her uncertainty became almost suffocating. Tom's smile flashed in her mind, warmth and love, the very foundations of her world. How could she choose between ambition and family? As she sat back down, heart pounding, she wondered just how far she was willing to go to achieve her dreams. Maybe she could find a way to do both, or maybe she would have to choose. And as the clock ticked, the pressure mounted. What path would she be brave enough to take? What sacrifices would call her name in the quiet hours of the night? Her mind wrestled with answers, but one thing was undeniable: she was on the brink of a decision that could alter the course of her life forever. Would she be able to embrace the chaos and transform her world? It was only the beginning, but the end of her week would come faster than she thought. What awaited her once she made her choice? In the days that followed, time felt like quicksand. Each hour slipped through her fingers as uncertainty gnawed at her heart. Sarah found herself navigating the fine line between dreams and responsibilities, ambition and love, each step heavier than the last. The offer from Richard swirled in her mind like a relentless wind. "Have you thought about it?" Tom asked one evening as they sat together on the couch, the soft glow of the lamp casting warm shadows. She nodded slowly, a flood of emotions arcing within her. "I have, but it's so complicated, Tom." "It's just a job," he said gently, searching her gaze. "You don't have to decide it all right now." But it felt like she did. Every time the baby's room caught her eye, she felt a surge of clarity and chaos. This was about family, and she wanted to be a mother first and foremost. Yet, buried deep within was the unshakable desire to chase her culinary dreams. Tom, what if I really chase this? What if it leads to everything I've ever wanted? Sarah's voice trembled with the weight of her thoughts. Then you should. But we also have to think about what that means for us, he replied, his voice steady but his eyes betrayed the flicker of concern. If it costs us time, or if it pulls us apart, I can't lose you, she whispered, tears threatening to spill. I can't lose what we're building. Tom took her hands, grounding her in the moment. And you want tea? We'll navigate this together. Loyalty sparked in his eyes, and she felt the courage surging back into her veins, but a nagging fear lingered. If she accepted Richard's offer, would she be putting too much on their shoulders? The pressure weighed on her as the week dragged forward. Every moment of hesitation felt like an echo, urging her to confront her truth. It was at the diner one afternoon, alone with her thoughts, when clarity struck. As the sun streamed through the glass, illuminating the lunchtime bustle, Sarah sat in a silence that felt profound. With a deep breath, she pulled out her phone, scrolling through the pictures of baby clothes and memories that shaped her future. There were glimpses of laughter, joy, and the community she cherished. Maybe it wasn't about choosing one over the other, but finding a way to blend her identities together. She needed to talk to Tom, to share the realization that had flickered through her mind. This journey wasn't about choosing between her child and her passion, it was about embracing both. Tom, she asked later that evening, finding him in the kitchen mixing ingredients for dinner, the familiar sights grounding her. Can we talk? Sure, he said, turning to her, the warmth of his smile making everything feel right. I think I can pursue my dreams along with motherhood. The words stumbled out, buoyed by a new resolution. I don't want to lose any part of myself, especially when I know I can create a life that includes both. Tom paused, and she held her breath, waiting for his reaction. When he spoke, it was with a mix of pride and support. That is amazing, Sarah. I always believed you could find a way. Her heart raced with relief. I don't know how it will look yet, but I don't want to sacrifice our family in the process. Can we work together to find balance? Absolutely. We can make a plan that supports both. We're a team, he replied, leaning in closer, his presence reassuring. With that, a weight lifted from her shoulders. The spark in Tom's eyes mirrored her newfound determination. They huddled together at the table, sketching out goals, brainstorming how she could model kitchen sessions while managing her responsibilities at home. As days passed, they built a timeline, one challenge at a time, creating a blueprint for their dreams entwined. The evening finally arrived when Sarah was set to respond to Richard. She had prepared herself, holding on to Tom's promise of support. The tension ratcheted up. Sarah stood in front of the phone, heart racing, fingers hesitating over the screen. Remember, you're in charge of this journey, Tom encouraged from the couch, confident and loving. You can take it where you want. With a steadying breath, Sarah dialed Richard's number, conviction swelling in her chest. Each ring echoed with a promise of determination, a stand for her family and her ambitions. Sarah. So good to hear from you, Richard exclaimed. His upbeat tone made her pulse quicken, but she steadied herself. I've made my decision, she began, her voice unwavering. I'm excited for the opportunity, but I need to prioritize my family, and that means keeping a flexible schedule that aligns with their needs. The silence on the other end felt electric, drawing out the moment. That is not exactly what we discussed, he faltered, the confident rhythm of his speech faltering. I know, but I also want to jeopardize what matters most to me, she asserted. I'm willing to give this my all, but it has to be on my terms. Very ambitious, he replied, his tone punctuated by surprise. We can discuss terms, but I need an unwavering commitment. Then let us talk about how we can meet in the middle. I believe we can build something great. As they continued the conversation, Sarah sensed the tension in her chest unwind. She was reclaiming her voice, her power, a fierce commitment to her family while still chasing her culinary pursuit. When she hung up, elation washed over her. She faced Tom, who beamed with pride. "How did it go?" "I've got it, as long as I can carve out time for us," she said, excitement bubbling in her chest. "We'll figure it out together," Tom said firmly, pulling her into an embrace. In that moment, all the uncertainty and fear fell away, replaced by love and a sense of purpose. As the clouds parted, revealing a clear sky, Sarah looked forward to her future, ready to blend motherhood and passion, believing wholeheartedly that embracing both was not only possible, but that it would enrich their family bond. And deep down, she understood the true masterpiece wasn't about choosing one life over another, but about weaving together every part of herself into a vibrant tapestry. Together, they were ready to begin. The transformation had unfolded not just within Sarah but in their entire family. A seamless intertwining of dreams and responsibilities formed the foundation of their love, and it was within this blend that their lives would flourish. Now, it's your turn to take action. You need to subscribe now to our channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that inspire and uplift. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, so we can continue bringing you heartfelt journeys. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. Your words mean the world to us. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. It's a message of hope and determination that deserves to be spread far and wide.